Hi guys, and welcome to your weekly horoscope. This one is for Monday the 7th of November going through until Sunday the 13th of November 2022. Thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to give you a rundown of what the planets are doing each day this week. And the point of these horoscopes is to try and understand what energy that creates and how that energy is going to influence all of us down here on planet Earth. So by understanding it, you can look at the good stuff and avoid some of the potential negatives. Now, this week, I feel like we're really entering the realm of Scorpio here. If I had to give this week a color, I would give it the color black, and not just any black, but like a shiny black, like a black bag with like black sequins on it. It's really the kind of darkness and introversion and operating kind of behind the scenes and taking pleasure in that somehow. It's kind of reveling in secrecy and in keeping things to yourself and taking pleasure and kind of feeling different. It's very subtle but interesting. So I have kind of called this Hermit week because I think the Hermit really encapsulates those kind of energies very well. The Hermit is the ninth card in the major arcana. So 9, first of all, is spirituality and completion. So it's meditation and contemplation in order to understand the self and the world and to make things better. So to bring the light. But what I think happens this week, and it's a busy week, we have that lunar eclipse on Tuesday. It's a full moon in Taurus that's interrupted. So it wants to be light and to shine. And then the Earth's shadow comes along and it has to put the lights out for like 80 something minutes. So astrologically, that's a big event. And I feel what that does here on Tuesday the 8th, and I'll get into it in more detail, is that it creates a split or a sense that I am separate from the world society and I'm kind of required to get things done on my own because I can't rely on other people or the goodness or compassion or support of others all the time. So I feel there's a strong sense this week of not things coming together, but the opposite of things kind of being split apart and feeling like I'm no longer part of this or I am separate because, and for there to be a particular reason why. So there's a sense of distrust abounding. It's kind of sinister. It's emotionally very wrought and profound. So on the plus side, you're able to understand things and to bring that light to yourself, greater understanding, and to see your own actions and things. Relationships are supported, especially romantic, intimate relationships where there's chemistry required, right? What isn't so supported here is taking a magnanimous kind of charitable view of things and making objective decisions because you are so much in your feelings. And there is that sense of otherness or separateness that your agenda, your part in it is always going to be very, very important. Okay, so that's the disclaimer of the week. Starting with Monday the 7th of November, we've got the moon going into Taurus at 6:15 in the morning. So the moon is what you naturally feel an affinity for. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So work and money and practical surroundings and your body and your wardrobe and everything like that. Very easy. Venus is in Scorpio, so profound feelings. And Venus in Scorpio is very much about the experience of love or a chemistry or a connection with something else. It's like this event, right? So with Taurus, ruled by Venus, very much focused on the body, and Venus in Scorpio, all these profound feelings, that's it's a good idea to find an outlet for all of that, whether it's exercise or it's creativity or it's the excitement of going on a first date, whatever it may be. That's really going to work for you. And Venus in Scorpio there, says me. Venus in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius. So there's friction between my feelings and what society wants and what they're saying to me. There's just it feels like a mismatch. We're not on the same page here. It just isn't quite right. It's me. It's not, on Monday, I don't think it's me versus them, but it's them and then me. It's that separateness has really been established. So overall, I think there may be a weird sense of anticipation, like the calm before a storm. Something's coming, but it hasn't quite happened and everyone's on edge. With the Taurus moon, you are practical. You're able to get things done, admin, work, getting things organized, sorted, tidied up. And you work well with information too. So since that is easy and it comes naturally, if you have those kind of things on your to-do list, focusing them on Monday and making it, I don't know why I'm stuttering. Focusing on those on Monday and trying to get them knocked off your to-do list is a good idea. There is underlying tension doing that kind of work. By focusing on it and trying to address it and find the reason, picking at it is going to make it become bigger. So usually I'm not big on sweeping things under the rug, but on Monday there's just the potential to escalate and to make something out of nothing. And being productive is far more effective in the long run, and you're able to use your energy well. Tuesday, the 8th of November, we do have that total lunar eclipse, and it's a full moon in Taurus. The Taurus moon opposes the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Scorpio. The Sun, who you are, Venus, what you love, and Mercury, your way of seeing the world and communicating, they're all in this water sign of Scorpio, which tries to dive down to the truth. So everything which is inauthentic or feels like a non-truth, then immediately has a target on its back, and it's like, I need to go after it. Why? I mean, really? If someone's like telling you some story, right? You're at a dinner, and you know this person works like a regular job, 9 to 5. But they're telling you about all these amazing things they're doing, and you know it's not true. Then by calling them out on it and saying, well, hang on a minute, what does that actually achieve? In fact, Scorpio can then look at that situation and say, this person may be, bigging themselves up to this level because, I don't know, they may not be pleased with what the reality of their life is, and I certainly can have compassion for that. So it's a far more thoughtful, intelligent kind of state of being, in the sense that emotionally you're able to read things very, very well. The Taurus moon then conjunct Uranus and Taurus. Something changes on Tuesday. Something occurs that is going to force most of us to reevaluate things. It squares Saturn in Aquarius, sextiles Neptune in Pisces, and trines Pluto in Capricorn. So this is really where the split happens of the week. It's almost like, okay, most people out there seem to think one way, I think another, so I'm like not part of the gang. I'm not part of the club. It's that feeling of the 5 of Pentacles, where it's like, oh, we've been thrown out of church and now we're in the snow. How unpleasant. And it's just something that's a feeling as well as a circumstance. Mercury in Scorpio. Oh, and what I wanted to say, like that card, it really does exist, and the whole point is rejection and hard times and having to make it on your own. That's very much the theme I'm getting this week, that this sense of otherness doesn't make you feel, oh, poor me, I'm on my own. It makes you feel like, okay, well, if I am on my own, then how am I going to get things organized here? If I'm not going to wait for permission or have someone support me or help me, or then I really am the boss. So there's a freedom in that, and you take on a very productive attitude. It's kind of like a piece of coal, like put enough pressure on it, apparently it becomes a diamond. So something special out of pressure. Mercury in Scorpio then also opposes Uranus in Taurus. Again, my feelings over the chaos in the world. Really, I'm going to pick my feelings. And the Sun in Scorpio conjuncts Mercury in Scorpio. So again, if you feel very strongly that you're right, because you've got the inside perspective, take a breath and say, how much of my own feeling is involved in this, and is there bias? And the reason I'm saying that is because it's very likely that you are going to be biased on Tuesday, the 8th. It's like, you have a giant plate in front of you and you can't see over the edges of it. Please look over the edges, it's important. So on Tuesday the 8th, altogether, I think there may be some unexpected news that signal big change. So, in astrology, I look at people's personal charts and I look at their personality and what's coming up in future and locations and things like that. So personality, location, future transit. There's a part of astrology called mundane astrology, and it does charts for like countries and it predicts world events. And I don't really do much with that. But sometimes, like on Tuesday, it creeps in. And I feel like either something personal happens, that you get some big news that change your personal circumstances, or we're all affected by it because something happens in the public. And the 8th is also I think in the States it's an election day. So, I mean, on an election day, nothing really changes. They just have a decision or, anyway, do the votes and then the next day they have the decision, whatever. But it's not the actual change. It's like the run up to the change is what I mean. So, ultimately, there's a shift that you're, again, going to have to do something about in future. So it puts the onus on you and it's like, oh, really? So am I going to be a part of this or am I going to do my own thing? The Taurus moon, I mentioned this, didn't I? Yeah, Mercury in Scorpio opposes Uranus in Taurus, and the Sun in Scorpio conjuncts Mercury in Scorpio. There we go. The unexpected news, like the diamond that's been created out of the pressure, that information may fire your imagination and give you a sense of freedom to pursue the things that you find interesting. So it's almost like, okay, this doesn't work anymore, so I'm now free to do whatever I want. It's really that feeling. So external happenings and pressure combine to create inner resolve and independence. It doesn't feel like a day of togetherness at all, and I think it's strongest here during the eclipse. But confirmation for you that your independence is essential. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Wednesday, the 9th of November, we've got the Taurus moon forming a sextile with Jupiter in Pisces. So the dream of what life could be. And it trines Pluto in Capricorn, so the willingness to work towards that dream. The Sun in Scorpio opposes Uranus in Taurus. That to me is the realization that the way things are doesn't really suit me. And again, I feel other and separate from my circumstances in my life. The moon enters Gemini at 2:37 in the afternoon. So I want to talk about these feelings, okay? Mercury in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius. This is very much my feelings versus the status quo. And it's that feeling of otherness, which I think is the defining factor of this week. However, you will gain momentum in your working life on Wednesday. If you're a writer or if you have any kind of jobs where you need to really be self-motivated, it's the day to get to it because you'll get a lot done. You have strong feelings on pretty much any subject and will jump at the chance to express your feelings. So double check that it's going to work in your favor to do that. And specifically on Wednesday, this is kind of sinister. Make sure that you're not being set up by someone else or manipulated by someone who has an axe to grind, but they don't want to do the grinding themselves. They would rather have you do it for them. It's like a friendship group where someone dislikes someone and then something happens where you have a conflict, a minor conflict with that same person. This other friend then helps on you and says, oh, aren't they a terrible person? You should really blow this out of proportion. And it becomes something other. And that's a manipulation by that other friend who's then doing their agenda via your problem. That's the kind of thing really that's specifically jumped out at me. Thursday, the 10th of November, we've got Mercury in Scorpio squaring Saturn in Aquarius. So this is the kind of day where it's like, do you know what, I've had it with the church, I'm leaving. Or this isn't a group of people just trying to grow their own vegetables and living a bio-sustainable life. This is like a cult. I don't want this. It's that ding, I don't want to be a part of this moment. And that moment isn't always right, you know? Like I've been part of groups and demonized them and said, oh my God, what's going on here? And then I looked at it again like years later and it was just a normal bunch of people and I was super paranoid. You never know really, do you? You always have to play these things by ear. And that kind of tendency to read something negative or sinister or like a bad motivation into something, the problem is that's also there. So personally, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and try and take the high road as much as I can. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I see people being very unforgiving, like if there's an argument or something terrible happens, I'll be like, oh, that's, terrible. But then if one of the parties then says, I will never forgive this and cuts that person out and is really just hard about it, I find that difficult in itself. It's like, don't be so unforgiving. You know, we all mess up all the time. And I'm going to try and remember that for this week myself. Venus in Scorpio trines Neptune in Pisces. Yeah, and that then extends to the church example. You know, it's like someone said, like the vicar or something says something that you don't like, and it's like, oh, suddenly it's a cult. Well, maybe he misspoke, and he doesn't mean that. Venus in Scorpio trines Neptune in Pisces, so strong imagination, creativity, and healing ability on Thursday. The Gemini moon trines Saturn in Aquarius. Oh, so this makes it a little bit easier to communicate with people, but your point of view is really the one that you're going to be most invested in, and it's not objective. The Gemini moon, that quality of me first, is heightened by Chiron in Aries, and it quincunxes the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio. So this is tricky because you feel objective and reasonable, looking at what's going on in your life, work, relationships, anything at all. But there's something underlying that you're missing because you're so in your feelings about it. So there's it's good that it's Hermit week because we need to look at ourselves and really pay attention because there's so many tricky little things going on here that can create real problems in our lives and our relationships. So on Thursday, any inconvenience or disagreement can be turned into this huge resentment. The alternative is to use this heightened emotional state to create, to connect spiritually, or to heal. And again, Thursday, I think I'm going to lay low because everyone's looking around like this, being suspicious. Friday, the 11th of November, the Gemini moon. You know, I'm just thinking as I'm going into Friday here, what is this suspicious, dark, sinister kind of energy all about? I'm kind of thinking of the Seven of Swords, taking something for yourself when you feel under pressure and using underhand tactics. I think the whole point of it is an understanding of the self via an external circumstance. It's like the pressure and the suspicion, it teaches you what you're really doing. Or, you know, when you say, oh, that's what they thought happened, that's how they saw this playing out, that was their version of events. Wow, no wonder they're angry at me. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm seeing it from a totally different perspective. So Friday the 11th, we've got the Gemini moon forming a square with Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. So this is a day for the writers and the artists and the healers again, and the psychics. Quincunxes Mercury and Venus in Scorpio and Pluto in Capricorn. So another day for news, which can be life-changing, but also a day for personal understanding, which then culminates in you going down a different path or determining to act differently in future. It's all very big and extreme and life-changing and big life decisions, and it's not subtle, this. The Gemini moon conjuncts Mars in Gemini. I want to express what I'm doing. The Sun in Scorpio squares Saturn in Aquarius. If only it wasn't for these people who are constantly disagreeing with me and putting obstacles in my way, so there's still this sense of me versus them. Venus in Scorpio quincunxes Mars in Gemini. And now weirdly, I mean, it's not like you're busy enough on Friday, but now I also want to go on a date and feel romance. It's a lot. Ultimately, I think the love and dating and romance thing is a good addition, and I would actually make that the center of Friday because that's the main thing that lifts the mood here for the first time this week. The other thing I feel is also that you feel very connected to nature and your body on Friday. So exercise and going on a hike or a picnic or something. You're still likely to be very, very vocal about your feelings and at the same time assertive enough to find loads of targets for the peace of your mind or to, you know, assert your truth or whatever. I was going to say, it's so insulting. If you have a tendency to go to a supermarket and to say, I want to speak to the manager, that urge is likely to appear on Friday the 11th. On Saturday, the 12th of November, we've got Mercury in Scorpio forming a trine with Neptune in Pisces, so the Hermit is able to paint and to heal and to do intuitive work. The moon is in Cancer and squares Chiron in Aries. And this is nice because you don't want any more conflict. You just want to take a day to chill and to be home and to rest. It's a good idea to rest and to reflect and to use the calmer side of the Hermit. Because on Saturday, I think you may have a dream or a vision or an epiphany or some sort of moment of clarity. And I want to really underline this and set it up, drum roll. This is a big point. And Saturday is the culmination of the Hermit energy, because you'll have that moment where it's like, I suddenly realize what my life mission is. I know what I'm meant to do. So the reason for that is every dark night of the soul, eventually there's the dawn, right? The hermit, the whole point of going out into the desert with the lantern is to find the light. And sooner or later, he always finds it. And all the challenge of the week culminates now, all the like niggling little annoyances and dark little feelings combine to give you this breakthrough moment of clarity. And it's like, oh, there I am. Ta-da. So it's all worth it, really, by Saturday. If you never meditate, if you want to meditate, but it takes you like 2 weeks to psych yourself into action to actually do it, try on Saturday, the 12th of November. The breakthrough is so likely. Finally, Sunday the 13th, we've got Venus, a lot happening on Sunday. Venus in Scorpio forming a sextile with Pluto. I want to change my circumstances. Mercury in Scorpio quincunxes Mars in Gemini. I have a lot of feelings, okay, I want to express those. The Cancer moon opposes Pluto in Capricorn. All this chaos is really cramping my style. It trines the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Scorpio, and Neptune in Pisces. I need peace and quiet. So it's not just that your chaos doesn't suit me, but like it's noisy. I need peace and quiet to create and to be with my partner and to heal and to intuit what I'm trying to do next. Like, stop interrupting me. The Cancer moon opposes Pluto in Capricorn. Wow, to me that says I want to work to bring more love into my life. Doesn't always mean that, but to me now, today, that means that. Quincunxes Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, other people aren't that bad, I guess. And it sextiles Uranus in Taurus. I'm going to need them anyway if I want to make changes. So Sunday, you know, the day before the rest and the breakthrough, on Sunday, I think you kind of, like you come out of your shell a little. I'm sorry, I'm just having a flashback to a film I saw that reminds me of this moment. It was a biopic about a celebrity who's addicted to pills. And she does a detox at a hotel, and she goes through 5 days of like horrible withdrawal and like hell on earth and stuff. And then on the 5th day, her husband comes in and she's like, oh darling, I feel so much better. It's all very dramatic. And he's like, good. What would you like? What can I do for you? And she's like, you can order me a big juicy steak with some mashed potatoes. You know? It's that moment of I've weathered the storm and now it's time for a big juicy steak or whatever it is you like to get your strength back. So you feel that. So I think on Sunday it's a good idea to get out of your shell and to connect with other people and to have new experiences, meet new people, all that stuff. Your biggest strength, I think, on Sunday is this ability to understand what you want in future and how you can go about realizing it. So within all the, you know, emotional volatility and stuff, it's been worth it. You get it. So it's getting your act together week, really. Or it's walking through the storm for the rainbow at the end of it. So initially, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, okay, it looks kind of gloomy here. But actually, it's important to get to this gloomy, dull point so that there can be the breakthrough. You can't find it when it's just mildly grey, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I get for you this week. I hope you have a wonderful time. Check out the video on the eclipse. It's really a major astrological event, and the influence is going to be there for 6 months. So it would, I think it's a great idea to try and understand it, yeah, and to see where it naturally supports you in your comings and goings over the next half year. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share the video online. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, so that... I'm sorry, this is like... It's my computer, and I press mute all the time. Because at night I get Skype calls and stuff. So I press mute, but I forgot, sorry. Okay. Every device goes off all the time. Anyway. Oh yeah, in my personal reading, so to draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. Then I have a snapshot of the sky at the moment you were born, and I can tell a great deal about you just by looking at this chart. It really blows my mind actually how much I can see. So if you have any questions about your life purpose or what would work for you in relationships or moving or what's likely to come up in future, how to build on your strengths and minimize the weaknesses. If you have any specific questions about actuals, like I'm transitioning from house A to house B, when would be the best time to move? Should I sell? Shouldn't I? It's really, the astrology is really, really amazingly useful in looking at those things. So if you want any extra info, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share the video online. Have an amazing week. And check out my daily tarot readings and the video on the eclipse. All the best, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.